Hey Computer, play About Bees podcast.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back once again to another episode of About Bees, Culture, and Curiosity. This is one of the two hosts. My name is Ron Miksha, and I'm here with...
Bidzina Mosiashvili.
Okay, can you say that again?
Bidzina Mosiashvili.
That's an interesting name. I like the kind of rhythm, like it has a beat to it. It's a very nice name, Bidzina.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so
Thank you.
we're here in Calgary. And Calgary is kind of on the edge of a desert, like the Great Plains of North America. We're about a 2 hour drive or so north of the Montana border. It's a
Yep.
big city, 1.5 million people, which is way more people than you'll find in all of the state of Montana. So it's a big city. And it's usually really dry here.
Yeah.
But today, we're breaking all kinds of records for the amount of rainfall that's been coming down.
Oh yes, it's a bunch of rainy day stuff. If anybody, this is the perfect opportunity. But yeah, it's been raining for a week. We can it's gonna be raining for a week, but it's been raining for almost 4 days now. Like three,
It's
four
been
days.
raining a lot and it's coming
Yeah.
down really heavy, particularly today. The rain just keeps coming. I think we're up to about 75 millimeters, which would be roughly 3 inches of rain for today. So that's a lot of rain. They have local
So
flood warnings out.
yeah, I was on the gardening group on Facebook, and some of the people were talking about how their gardens are already filled with water, even though that they have drainage set up for it.
Hmm.
It's not draining fast enough.
It's not draining fast enough, and it keeps coming in
Yeah.
faster than the system can get rid of it. It's really something. And not only that, but both of us are wearing sweaters today. It's pretty chilly.
Yep.
I just looked at the official weather, and they say with the chill factor here in Calgary on the very first day of summer, the first full day of summer. Summer started last night about 10:30 at night local time. Uh, yeah, about that. Anyway, today's the first full day of summer, June 21 here, and the temperature, the high for today is supposed to be below 50 Fahrenheit, around 9
Yeah.
Celsius,
Yeah.
and with the wind chill factor. It says
Well,
it feels like, did you see this, Bidzina?
no,
It feels like -3
re,
because we're
well,
having really strong winds with lots of rain. So, if you're going out for an extended period of time, you risk frostbite and thermal. What is it called when you chill too much?
I don't know.
I can't
Is
remember the
it
word now. There's a word for it. There's a word for being too cold.
hypothermia? Hypothermia?
Hypo, that's what I'm looking for. The hypothermal, thermal, hypothermia. Is that it?
Yeah,
Hypothermia?
I think
Thank you.
so. I if it could be another term for it. But
No,
speaking
that's
of
the one I was looking for.
yes, speaking of hypothermia, is there ever cases of bees getting hypothermia because of funny
That
incidents?
that is a really good question, particularly this morning, because my wife took a picture of our backyard colonies of bees, and
Yep.
they are really strong, hanging out in the front. But this morning, what she took a picture of was the bees on the front steps of one of the hives look like they're dead. They are totally soaked, wet, and obviously very, very cold. I don't know
Yeah.
if they'll survive this or not. It looks, I thought at first, well, they know what they're doing, but the colonies, I think, were so strong, even though they're like 6 boxes high, they were
Wow.
hanging out in the front and they got wet, they got chilled, and they're still there. I hope, I'm talking hundreds of bees, not three or four bees. I'm talking several hundred, not
Mm.
thousands, but hundreds. And I'm just hoping that those poor little bugs will survive this. But so, yeah, bees can get chilled. obviously,
Well,
and usually they come back out of it, but wet and cold, I'm not so sure.
yeah, I have a funny story, right? So those painting sheets people lay out, yeah, for for any work you're doing inside. It's like
Hmm.
cloth. It's meant for construction, and they get dusty. So I had I decided to take advantage of the rain, and I laid some outside to get them wet, and then when the sun comes out, it'll dry because I didn't want to wash them in my washer just with
No,
all
that's
the
right.
yeah.
Hmm.
So there I have a little swarm that I caught about 2 weeks ago in my backyard just before they're ready to go to their forever home. And right beside it, maybe about like 4 feet away, is where the cloth is hanging, and the wind blew it over this wet cloth that's drenched in rain. It managed to blow it perfectly over this single beehive box. I see that and I'm freaking out. I'm like, what the heck? Did my parents do this because the bees, they thought they were going to get cold, so they covered it up with cloth? And I asked my dad. He said, no, it wasn't me. I was about to call my mom. She's not home. Before I did that, I checked the camera, and it was the wind that had blown it over. And
We've got really strong winds today,
yeah,
yes.
but I was just thinking, wet, like that's how you get hypothermia in wet
Hmm.
clothes when you're,
Right.
yeah. So if you wrap bees in something in wet, I guess they will also experience hypothermia just like everybody else. Yeah, it's
I
obvious.
think they would. I think they would when they get covered in water and it's cold. You can get hypothermia. Thank you, Ron. Just hiking in the mountains on a very cold day. If you're stressed too much and you're out there too long, it is possible, and not being wet. But the water, cold water, certainly. I mean, I don't want to throw cold water on your theory, but you're right.
Well, I don't know. It was really funny because I thought they were trying to keep it warm. And before I jumped to conclusions, turns out it was the
Hmm.
wind. But in the manner it had blown the cover over, it was like perfectly set.
Right.
It wasn't just halfway.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Nice. Did you check that camera really closely? Because it might have been that the bees moved it over to protect them.
well, I was going back and forth. I'm like, what the hell
You know,
was that?
mhm. They could
I
work together, and maybe they figured out some engineering tricks for
well, yeah, they were
moving
cold.
heavy tarps. And
They were
sure, who knows? Who knows? I'm open to anything until proven ridiculously wrong, which I think this is. Anyway, yeah, we're having awfully strange weather out here,
yes,
and I think on the positive side, it's going to help our farmers enormously because we do suffer from drought
yeah,
pretty regularly in the province of Alberta. And also, it's going to be just absolutely fantastic for the beekeepers because this
yes,
moisture, without this kind of moisture, the honey crop can be pretty feeble. But now
mhm,
that the soil is getting so nicely soaked, and it's before things are really blooming. It's during that dearth period that we often get after the dandelions are done up here and before the clovers kick in. There's that period of time there that when if the rains come in, it might as well rain because the bees aren't going to be doing anything anyway because there's not that much in blossom until the sweet clover. I saw sweet clover in bloom pretty heavily already, but it usually takes about a week and days. You see in the roadsides, the ditch, the hillsides. When you first see that, it's at least a week before we actually have nectar coming in from that.
yes, and um, so there will be a heavy nectar flow.
Hmm. There will be. I'm predicting a big, heavy nectar flow this year.
And does that mean that they will also be creating a lot of beeswax?
Hmm. Well, it depends on your management, I guess. I would predict that if they are if they fill up those boxes and they don't have anywhere else to go, they're going to be sealing everything. They're going to be building a lot of burr comb. So probably yes.
Yes, because what I'm getting at is, have you ever seen those jars that they put inside of beehives and they fill it up with beeswax, and then you just take the jar out, fill it with liquid honey, and then you got a fresh jar of honey with honeycomb inside of it that the bees had built.
I have seen that. The unfortunate part, of course, is when you put that jar on top of the beehive and the bees come up there and they build all that, is that then you take that off and you fill it up with honey. You've got lots and lots of dead bees floating in the honey inside that jar.
Well, but the idea is you just use a queen escape or a bee escape.
A bee escape. I wish you would have told me that before.
You try, you've tried this in
No,
the
no, I've
past.
never tried it.
Uh,
I've never tried it. No, and I think it's a cute idea. I don't know how well it'll work here because of our cool nights. So maybe when you do this, you might want to take a hive rim, the box, without any combs in it, and put that so that it
yes.
covers,
Oh, that's right.
yes,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
put a lid on top of that to kind of preserve some of the heat in there.
Right.
So when the bees
Right.
come
Yeah,
up
that's a
there,
good point. They need heat. Maybe
they
it
need
wouldn't even help if I put burlap in between the jars or something.
It might. Yeah, kind of keep it, or at least draped over the whole thing. How
Yeah,
many
drip.
jars do you plan on putting on top of a hive?
So I have a bunch of jars left over from previous years that I didn't get to fill, all kind of
Mm-hmm.
assorted in different sizes and stuff. And
Yep.
I'm thinking I'm gonna if I do, there's this big 1 kg jars I have. I'm gonna make 9 of those in one. I think I can do 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a bunch of these small 350-gram hexagonal jars. And I think
Okay.
if I get the hexagonal things like close up to each other, I can pretty much like put 20, 20 up, 20 on one inside one box.
Right.
And
Right. I think you
yeah, and it'll
could.
be
I
like
think you
little,
could.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's doesn't sound like it's overdoing it as far as expectations from a hive because if you have nine of the 1 kg,
That's how
then
much honey gets filled up into them.
right, that's about 20, that would hold about 20 pounds, although you're going to have to pour liquid in to fill up the empty spaces.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're over anticipating it. I would want you to have a really strong hive to choose to do this as an experiment. And also, I think it would be really useful if you took little bits of comb and dripped some beeswax into the jar with that bit of comb so that there's something for the bees to hang on and go up and investigate. If it's just a plain empty jar, there's a good
Yeah.
chance that they just will continue to fill up the bottom of the hive and not go up there. It's kind of like when you put a box of foundation on top of a hive. Sometimes during a honey flow, they'll pop right up there and start working on the foundation, but more often than not, they're really reluctant to go up there cold. They need to have that little bit of incentive, and that could
Mm.
be your chunks of beeswax in those jars.
And what about those cassettes? Would a cassette be a better idea? The Worker and Hive sells these pre-made cassettes where they're pretty much like frames that they go
Hmm.
inside of a box and then they fill up these cassettes of honeycomb that they call it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That might be better, but it sounds to me like you're looking for something that will have a lot of added value and be very unique, a real novelty.
Yeah,
And I
the
think,
jars look nicer.
yeah, one thing to also be cautious about, we ran into this at one point with a honey farm that I had here in Alberta. Um, we had 500 hives approximately making comb honey. And you would have bits and pieces of comb honey that weren't completely filled. So you took that and cut it out and put it into jars the way you're talking about. And it looked really attractive, pouring in some nice, beautiful,
Yeah.
mild flavored, light colored liquid honey, it
Yeah.
looked really good for about a week, and then it started to crystallize, and within about a month, solid.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a good point, right? So, well, I have so I don't know, my this maybe we could kind of talk about this a little bit, but I have this theory that um yes, the source of the flower is very important about whether your honey will crystallize, but I think another more not more, but as important factor is the filtration process. So if you have the industrial equipment to filter it to get all the pollen and debris out, I think the crystals take a lot longer to form. The reason why I'm saying this is because I got honey from Worker and Hive, and it's has not crystallized. The ones that I have in jars that I've put it into bucket, but the ones that I've opened one, just for home use, and there's a knife going in here and there. Sometimes a breadcrumbs falls in, whatever things go in. That one's starting to crystallize. So I think if
Okay.
if I get really good filtered honey, or maybe if I do it or some source it locally, and then add it to my comb honey, it might work. But you're right, exactly. Once it hardens up, it nobody's going to see the comb.
Right, right, and they won't know what to do with it, and then
Yeah,
they'll say, "Oh, it's really nicely, smoothly crystallized, granulated, which is beautiful." But then they reach in there with a knife and they hit wax,
yeah.
so that doesn't work. Now, y- you do have a good point, and one of the contributing factors to crystallization is the amount of granules that are floating in the honey. So those act as catalysts or starting points or seed crystals around which granulation will quickly occur. So the more highly filtered your honey is to remove all the pollen, little bits of beeswax, anything else that's in there, the longer it will take to crystallize. But there are at least two other principal things to be concerned about. One you already mentioned, and that's the source of the nectar. Now, the ratio between fructose and glucose, the two main sugars in honey, is really important. And if the honey is really high in fructose and low in glucose, it will not crystallize, or at least it might even take years before it crystallizes. So there's a
Right.
honey in Florida, North Florida, along the Apalachicola River, and the honey is called Tupelo. So honey. And Tupelo honey is famous for its very high fructose content, which makes it a very sweet honey. Like it tastes sweet, sweeter than other honeys, because fructose has a much higher sweetness to the taste. If you drop a droplet of honey that's mostly fructose into a jar of water and you just barely taste the sweetness, it'll take 2 drops of honey that's mostly glucose before you would taste the same level of sweetness. So
Wow.
fructose is
That,
very
yeah.
sweet, and fructose
Mm,
also does not crystallize. Glucose, the other main constituent in honey, it does crystallize very quickly. And our honey in our area up here in Alberta, Canada, is a lot of it comes
mm,
from canola. And honey
yes.
from canola is very high in glucose, much higher in glucose. So the ratio between fructose and glucose is reversed, where there's more glucose than fructose in canola honey. And because of that, our honey crystallizes really quickly. The third thing, actually, there are two more things that I can mention. Next, I would say, besides the catalyst, the dust, the particles that you mentioned already, and the glucose content. Another thing is temperature. So if the honey is kept at around, I'd say about 10 to 15 degrees Celsius, which a lot of people would be like in their basement or something, it crystallizes more quickly than it does at room temperature. And at warm temperatures, it's much, much slower at crystallizing. So
Yes.
that's another one of the qualities. And the final one that we don't think about very often, but picture this. Honey is a supersaturated solution. Supersaturated means you've dissolved, in this case, glucose and fructose into water. Most honey is around 18% moisture, 18% water. That's natural. The water comes from the nectar. The bees bring in the nectar. They dry out excess water, get it down to about 18% where it's stable, and it'll last for a long time for the bees' use. But if it's much lower than 18%, like a lot of our honey in Alberta is 15, 16% moisture, now it doesn't take as much to have a supersaturated solution. The more water in it, the harder it is to crystallize. The less water that's in it, the more quickly it crystallizes. So here we have a whole bunch of things working against us. We've got the cool temperatures, especially if you leave your bees supered up into September, and then the nights are getting really cold. Then that temperature allows more rapid crystallization. We have canola honey, which is high in glucose,
Yep. Yep.
and we have really dry climates, a really dry climate here, and consequently, that also contributes to rapid crystallization. Now, your idea, and I have to throw this in while I'm still thinking about it, that's why I'm rattling on and on, but
Yeah.
I like your idea. It makes a really pretty product. I've seen it in Florida where they sell Tupelo honey that never crystallizes in with the comb honey, and it stays
Mm,
really pretty and fresh for a long time. But think about your jars now. Your jars have been filled by the bees, and they've put some honey in those combs, and maybe not completely, that's okay. And then you fill up all the empty spaces with really clean honey. But what was in those combs? You know, if you have specks of pollen, which is quite natural and normal on the beeswax, then that all acts as crystallization starter points for that
right.
honey. So
You can't get
regardless
that
of how
out.
clean, you can't get that out. So even if you went through the effort of having really nice, well, I don't know if it's nice if you take all the pollen out of honey, but
Yeah,
anyhow, you know what
exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Right. Um,
So I don't want to discourage you. I think everything should
yeah.
be tried once, and a lot of things I say get proven wrong
I
because
I
different situations they have different results.
I do like the cassettes, you know. They're a bit pricey though. That's the thing about them. They don't come
Okay.
cheap. So
Yeah.
it's like you got to spend like almost $200 to get $200 worth of honey. I mean, you got it next year, but it's not like they're not cheap frames.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Are you
And then
talking like the round combs?
there's the round cones and then there's the square ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the cassettes, we usually think of the square ones,
Yeah.
and that's what you're thinking of.
That's the one I think would be a better idea.
Yeah. Yep. What are some of your marketing strategies? Because what you're describing to me is something that would be appealing to a
Yeah.
certain group of people. So it's not
Yes.
like, tons of honey on everybody's table to smear over the
Exactly.
peanut butter.
Well,
Right.
because the issue is like every year you get a bunch of honey as a beekeeper, and sure you can sell it pound per pound, but you want to move it fast. And I'd rather sell it in comb form, but like get it for a higher price, just get rid of it as soon as possible while it's fresh. I think it will sell a lot quicker than sit on it for months and go to market and sell it. I just want to get it all rid of it all at once. Turn my
Mm-hmm.
honey into money. That's
Mm-hmm.
instead of like that's I wish there was some sort of like individual recycling depot place where you could just take your honey and they'll give you a cash for it.
Well, there are packers who will do that, but
Yeah, yeah. But
obviously they're looking for honey in drums
yeah,
or big pails at least, and they can't give you as high of a price as you might get at a farmer's market or something like that. And at your point in your beekeeping career, you're probably better off trying to get the highest amount of money out of your honey as you can. And that might mean sitting on it for a little while.
Yeah, exactly. But then you got to have a place to store it and this and
Hmm.
that. And then I don't know. I just think like, if I have a mix of liquid, that's like, just jar liquid honey and then 50% comb honey, I'll be able to move my product a lot faster.
Yes, yes. Okay. Okay. I'm not an expert at marketing or anything like that. I'm not an expert at anything really, but I would say that you've got to try and see. Things change. I've been around a long time, and it's been a long time since I did a lot of individualized packing and sales. So the
It,
audience has changed, the interest of people has changed. You're young, you can scout out, you can do your market research and figure out what's going to sell. Now, tell me a little bit about your connections, if they still are there, with the mixed martial arts programs, and you were getting some places to
yep.
sell honey there. I think that's a really nice fit.
Well, that's right. We have an event coming up this for June 26th, Thursday. There's not exactly sure about the number, but it's a pretty big event from what I
Hmm.
understand. At least 500 to 600 people will be there. And
Wow, that's a lot.
yeah, that is, I have the stickers here with me. I'm in charge of the
Hold
stickers.
it up a little bit closer to the camera for people who are watching this as a YouTube. Nope, it just
Uh,
disappeared. You disappeared. There we go.
so yeah,
Let's look at this again. Those are very attractive. I can't read them though.
it just says real deal honey,
Oh, that's
made in
right. Real deal.
Alberta, unpasteurized, and then 1.56 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And all the rest of the information's on a nutritional sticker on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is I got about 100 to 120 jars, not including the little small jars I got to do as well. That they're like
Okay.
another like 80 of those. But
And that's
there's
for
like,
next
yeah,
Thursday, June 26th. You want to have that honey there.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Mm,
great. Good for you.
yeah.
Good. Happy for you.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I know it should be exciting. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, you were starting to tell me a little bit about your bees besides the ones that little swarm. That
Yeah.
was it actually caught in your backyard?
No, I caught it in the same backyard where I caught the first swarm. A beehive swarmed on me twice.
Mm.
And the second time, I didn't even introduce a new queen. They had they birthed a new queen emerged, virgin queen, mated, came back home, and swarmed again.
Okay. Now, how do you know that she actually mated when she came back? We sometimes have something we call an after swarm, which is
Well,
sort of what you're describing.
because
And
she's laying eggs.
she's laying eggs now in your
She's laying eggs
backyard.
in my backyard. Yep.
Yep. How long ago did you catch that?
But maybe just under 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half.
Okay, okay, then
Yeah.
she probably had mated, come back, and then left again. So that's an
And
unusual trick. Not too many beekeepers can get the same hive to swarm twice in one season.
oh, I know. I mean, I
That's a
was
talent.
well, I was talking to the people, and they said the previous beekeepers in this location have had their beehive swarm 4 times in the same season, same beehive.
Ouch. Yeah.
So the area is really high in trees. It's a beautiful, like, I don't know, a good I get there could be even a mating congregation area somewhere nearby from other beehives,
Hmm. Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
And then the third time, the second time when they swarmed, I checked on them, and they were still full of bees. I still found a couple brood of frame that were about to emerge, but no sign of queen cells or any brand new eggs. So I introduced the new brand new queen. So there, I haven't checked on them. It's been about a week now. I should probably check on them, but um, they have 3 boxes filled with and filled with honey and stuff. And the second time they were about to they swarmed. Just before that, I checked on them. They had about 18 frames of brood. I counted.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was because I didn't put a queen excluder, and she was going up and down, laying eggs everywhere.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
in three supers, medium soup.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. It's just bees are so remarkable. Really
I know,
remarkable.
and they're so gentle. This specific um, gene of queen. The first swarm is amazing. She's just. But we place a third super. They're already collecting honey.
They were. I've got lots of honey on my hives too. In fact,
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
probably a little crowded, so I'll have to
yeah.
figure out what to do about that. But no, it's been a remarkable year so far. For me, both of my
Yeah,
colonies, I
how's
only have two colonies these days. They both wintered. They're both really strong, very strong. They haven't swarmed yet, and they filled up a lot of honey. So I would say, more than I've ever seen in a springtime. Like
Wow.
that's something. And the main flow has not started yet. That will be
Yes.
coming as soon as the weather stabilizes. So, like you said, we might have another week of really wet, cool weather. And it is cool. Today, in the 40s Fahrenheit, below
Yes.
10 degrees Celsius. That's pretty chilly for the bees. They're just
Yeah.
clustered up there waiting. But as soon as it breaks, with all this rain, and at this time of the year, and sweet clover was already blooming before it started to rain, it's going to be enormous. Jump back because they're going to plug everything up so fast.
Wow. That
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's a good. I guess it's a good season. Would you say this is a good season?
So
Yeah.
far, I'm totally happy. It's one of the best I've seen. Yeah,
Right. It
yeah.
could get dry later.
Yeah, yeah. So I had some fun this past week. We're recording on the 21st, which is a Saturday. So on, let me think, Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday and Thursday, I was invited by way of the Alberta Native Bee Council. They received a request for somebody to go and speak to two different senior citizen centers inside of Calgary. And
Wow.
each time I had over 30 people in the audience, and they were very engaged. These people were, well, fortunately, the particular homes that these folks are living in, they really emphasize education, arts, music, and so on for everybody. And the people were so engaged with learning about bees, and it just made me think, we're always trying to approach children. When I worked at the Science Center last year in Calgary, I was out there six different times to the Calgary Science Center presenting about bees, native bees mostly, but also honeybees. And I had probably, well, they counted, they had a little clicker and they were counting the number of engagements that I had. Not me doing the counting, I don't care, but the people who run the Science Center, they wanted to see how popular this, my work would be with
Right.
the general
Right.
audience. And we had
Right.
we had hundreds just within an hour and a half. We had hundreds, mostly kids. And I thought, here we are, always talking to children, which is good. We want the kids to not be afraid of pollinators, to understand a lot about how, everything is interconnected, the ecology and so on. But it occurred to me doing these talks to the seniors that people of all ages can be approached. And maybe we're missing a big resource here by not focusing enough on folks like me who are elderly, getting old. I'm getting old. I'm over 70. So people like me and the people who were even older than me and living in these homes, they they have a lot to contribute. Get them involved, writing letters. Whenever there's a some new legislature, we're going to legalize this particular pesticide which hasn't been properly vetted or tested, but yet we've been asked by chemical companies to go ahead and make it legal. Maybe you know, some folks would like to be involved in sending a note to their legislative representatives to say, yeah, maybe it's a good pesticide, maybe it is, but we haven't done enough testing on it yet. And you start hearing voices from voters who have been around a long time and can draw on some of their previous history, some of their knowledge that's sort of disappearing that people don't hear enough about. Maybe it's time to engage more of those folks.
It
Anyway, I
is.
had
It
a
is.
lovely time. I had a
No,
lovely time with them.
I agree. I think it just it gets well always right. Just history. We seem to think I've had a couple of bad experiences with getting advice from not me personally. I mean, like maybe a person has. Well, I've also had bad experiences, but getting bad advice from someone older than you, and not go, and then maybe or just completely seeing like kind of brushstroking an entire generation based on how a couple of different individuals behave, or maybe their relatives or their cousins or uncle or whatever. And they just now everything that the older generation says gets dismissed. I kind of had this issue myself where, as my mom started to get older, she was not as sharp. I started to see the flaws in her ways as I started to get more older and more sharper. And now I'm more kind of confident and disregarding what they say or whatever. And then that would burn me. I would get burned, because and it's not everything. Like, you can't throw the baby out of the bathwater scenario, and that's kind of what's going on. Is we're kind of throwing history away. Like a lot of kids, like a lot of people my age, don't know history that much. Like, it's not really an important topic anymore. Like, if it's 1970 is history, like any 1970 and onward is history. Like, that's
Yeah,
anything
I
beyond is
agree
like
with you.
ancient history.
I agree with you. Just because people have lived a long time doesn't necessarily know they know a lot, and or that they mean well all the time, or
Yeah.
that their advice is actually going to be good. But we don't want to also totally discount people who have had experiences and maybe listen to it and say, yeah. See, I get a lot of my knowledge out of very old beekeeping books. It's surprising some of the things that people used to do, used to think that we've kind of forgotten about. I'll give you one quick example. When I was a youngster, one way of treating a European foul brood was to remove the queen, or at least cage her up for about a week or 10 days, and let that cycle of brood, that's larval stage, continue to develop with its bits of European foul brood infestation, and it cycles through, and then you release the queen, and most often that's all it takes. That's all it takes to cure or clear out a case of European foul brood. Now, I mentioned that to one of the apiary inspectors who had, like, a chief apiary inspector, like for an entire province, one of them, and that person said, I never heard of that.
Yeah.
You used to do that when you were young. And I said, yes. And that sounds right. That sounds like a
So,
great idea.
so let's just kind of break it down in detail here. So you identify a hive that has American foul brood,
Not American, European.
European foul brood. Then what is the next step you do after?
You find the queen and
Okay.
cage her, and you can leave her
Yes.
in the cage inside the hive. Don't leave the candy end open on a cage, because they'll let her right back out in a few days. You want her to stay caged for over a week, maybe 10 days, until the eggs have developed, the 3.5 days in, into larvae, and then the larvae get sealed up. So let's say 10, 12 days or so, until you see, the majority of the brood is sealed. And the bees have had a chance then to clean out any dead, diseased brood, which normally would keep reinfecting the brood every time there's a new larvae. it can keep spreading. But if you have that
Mm,
total break, and that's what we used to do. When I was a bee inspector in Pennsylvania in the 1970s, that was one of the things I was told to pass on to beekeepers when I found European foulbrood. And sometimes people say, well, if you just replace the queen. And yes, if you just replace the queen, you've done almost the same thing
right.
because you have to find the old queen. You have to let the hive be queenless for a few days, especially if it's a stronger colony. If it's a weak nuke, you don't have to wait very long. But if it's a strong colony, you find the queen, get rid of her, get your new queen in there inside of a cage a few days later. It takes another couple of days before that new queen is released. So there's been a bit of a break. Not a full break in the brood cycle, but a bit of a break. So that's just one example of something. And maybe people would try that now and find out that the new, stronger, more resistant European foul brood doesn't respond as well as what I experienced with the old European foul brood a number of years ago. So that's where, my advice has to be taken with a grain of salt. You have to kind of look at that and say, oh, I wonder if it works. It makes
Mm,
some logical sense. Let's go ahead
right.
and try a few.
No, that's a very interesting way of dealing with the problem because I wonder in nature if they bees could possibly tell, like maybe the queen kind of can somehow figure out that, oh no, that there's a disease and she stopped laying herself, but she can't figure, she'll just continue laying. She won't do a brood
Um,
break.
Right. As long as she has, I don't think she'll naturally do a brood break because she
Right.
doesn't have that kind of. I don't think she has the ability to know that. What she does is she looks around in the hive for any cells that have been cleaned and prepared for her to lay an egg into.
Yeah.
So as long as those things exist, then she's going to just keep on laying eggs.
Right. Right.
So
Mm.
anyhow, I want to
Yeah.
also make it really clear, just what you said a few minutes ago. We want to distinguish European foul brood from American foul brood. American foul brood, the spores that are there will last forever, for way longer than any beekeeper will be alive, at least according to technology as it exists today.
Yeah, that's
Then
yeah, spores are weird.
spores are weird. They
Yeah.
can be chilled, frozen, be left for in a comb for years, and as soon as they have a chance to release and infect brood, it'll come back. So American foul brood, this trick will not work.
Right. Right. Um,
And maybe
well,
European
yeah.
foul brood, it won't work anymore either, but that's my experience from the past.
For like that people add like do you know that powder stuff, fumagellin? Is it what it is?
Yeah, there is fumagillin, and it's used for nosema.
Oh no, Zima. What's used
Yes.
for American fowl? Like because I understand that you got to always be treating for varroa, but nobody really talks about the other diseases. But I guess everything stems from varroa. The bees can kind of take care of the rest as long as they're healthy, or am I off?
Mm, no, not really. Uh, One of the most benign diseases or pests or problems that we have is chalk brood,
Right.
which we really don't do much for except to try to improve the general environment around the hive, making sure that it's dry, that the colony gets a lot of sunshine if it comes down with quite a bit of chalk brood, and probably replace the queen because it could be a queen related
Hmm.
issue as well. So chalk brood does work from spores. It's kind of um, a moldy kind of thing so
Right.
damp environments will contribute to the issue, but it doesn't spread from colony to colony, at least not much. Not where it's a problem, and bees typically clean it out without it being a big deal, usually.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
so that's one that we kind of ignore. But nosema can be a real bad problem in a cold, wet spring because what's happening there is if the bees can't fly out to defecate, then they get plugged up. Their tummies get filled up with with these nosema fungi that will make them sick.
Mm,
And a lot of people look at problems in the front of a beehive where there are a lot of bee droppings and they kind of relate the two. I think there's a strong correlation between, seeing droppings on the entrance board or even on the hive itself from the bees and the existence of nosema. But it doesn't mean that one directly causes the other. It could be that the third factor of the weather plays a big role.
right, right.
So, and the fact that if the bees are heavily infested with nosema, then they might not be able to fly as well. So when they go out to the bathroom, it ends up on the front of the hive. But it's also the weather that prevents them from flying, and the weather that also contributes to the problem of the nosema. So that's another problem. European foul brood is a disease that can look a bit like American foul brood. So if you have one or the other, it always pays to get somebody who's seen it before to help you take care of it. And both European foul brood and American foul brood respond really well to antibiotics. But the antibiotics only hide the symptoms. The spores, especially for the American foul brood, are going to be there forever. So the common
You,
accepted
s-
way of treating is to burn the equipment.
but
That gets rid of the spore of the American foul brood entirely.
doesn't the spores won't the like it won't be hot enough? Won't they just go into the ground?
Um, no, I think it does burn them enough. I think that they won't withstand boiling, but paper and wood and such, they that burns at about 500, 452 degrees
Right.
Fahrenheit, or
Yeah.
Fahrenheit 452, if that's the way you want to say it, because that's the name of the movie and the book, Fahrenheit 452. That was
Wow.
the
Okay.
point where books would burn.
I
Anyway,
see.
um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
incredible.
that's a typical way of taking care of American foul brood. So there is a difference between the two. I just brought that up as an example of something that may or may not be effective today that an old person could bring up, and young people could look at that and say, I wonder, I hadn't heard that before. Maybe he's all wet, but maybe it's worth pursuing, testing, trying out. So
No,
that's something to look at.
right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I want to do. I guess we've been kind of going for a little bit. How long have we been going for? For an hour almost, huh?
Yeah, yeah, we're doing okay.
I I do want to take it a different direction if you don't mind.
Not at all.
So I finally got my laser cut pieces. I got 12.
Wow.
I have 12 of these,
Okay,
and
for people who are listening and not watching the YouTube channel that Bidzina has, we're looking at some really cool hexagonal designs
it's
that,
actually a
you know,
pentagram.
pentagram designs.
Uh,
Okay,
uh,
yeah, one,
uh,
two, three, four, five sides. What's wrong with you? Why aren't they
I couldn't.
six-sided?
I well, um, there was issues with the six-sided file, so I just this is just a prototype. So we just went
Those
with this,
look
but it becomes
really cool.
it turns into a decatron, dodecatron, or
Okay.
something like, and it's a 12-sided 3D shape, and
A
it that's
12 sided.
and that looks hexagonal.
Oh yeah. Okay, in 3D. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
That
that is gonna go over a beehive,
oh,
and the beehive is
were
gonna
you
be in.
inspired by that flying drop cloth that landed on your colony? Is that what made you think that this is something to do?
No, what inspired me was the you remember the log idea, right? With the
Okay,
beehive going
yes, I see
inside the
it. Yep.
log. But then I realized, hey, if I do this, this log is going to be so cumbersome. Like, how am I going to get it to places? How, let's say the owner wants to move it. I don't know. It's just, it's a heavy piece of log. Like my car, I could barely, the prototype that I was making, I could barely get the log to my house. Like I had to drive 80 kilometers the whole way. It was payload capacity was overloaded. It was like 500
Okay,
pound
so
log.
80 kilometers per hour is about 45 miles per hour. So you
Yeah,
were afraid of going much faster than that.
I I,
And
I
I
couldn't.
think to refresh people's memory, even those who are watching and not just listening, what Bidzina has is a prototype of what he was trying to design as a complete beehive that would look a lot like an old-fashioned hive gum, gum, that would have been used in the southern USA and a few places in Central and Eastern Europe that bees could live inside. And you were going to hide the colony. Oh, that's
I
lovely.
actually
He's
I have
holding
a
up.
big one.
He's holding up a picture or a proto now of a carved face, and the back is slotted and open where the actual beehive could set. So this is sort of like camouflage, so that
Yes,
people won't know that there are bees in there until they get really close to inspect the cute artwork, and then they get stung in the face.
that's
So that's
right.
clever. That's clever.
Yeah.
I like it.
So,
Yeah.
and eventually I still want to go down this route, but I got some prototyping to work. The idea behind is that I'm going to hollow out the log and maybe just harvest bark off logs and somehow get it off without breaking it intact, and then
Hmm.
use the bark around whatever interior material I use. So
Right.
it
Right.
won't be as heavy, but the outside is still like natural and bark like and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
uh but before we get to we got I want to do there's multiple designs in the catalog, and the other design is these geometric beehive domes. So it's there. This is a prototype. We're gonna use thicker material. This is five
Hmm.
millimeters. We can do about 18 millimeters thickness, so we can go a little bit thicker than a lot thicker than this, and
Okay.
and they come together using these links. There's these little links here,
Hmm.
and they slot inside of every single frame like that.
Oh, I see. So,
Yeah,
so there are little holes in the side of these pentagons that you can stick them together and make a solid 3D shape.
that's right.
And
And there's 12, yeah,
that would go over top of your bee colonies.
that goes over the bee colony. And,
Hmm.
there's all sorts of different geometric shapes you can do. You can do metal, copper sheets, gold sheets, if someone wants to get so extravagant. And there will be a lighting system that I'm still developing, but inside of it. So at nighttime, you can adjust the lights through Bluetooth from your phone.
Okay. Who's the light for?
For just so it's in your backyard, it looks cool.
Oh, I got it. I got it. But
Yeah.
but then you don't think that'll bother the bees? Maybe a red light.
I talked to Bill
The
Raymond,
bees,
and
yeah,
he's the one that actually 3D printed this for me. Um,
nice. He's
and
brilliant. I like that.
Yeah, I know he's actually. I'm like, oh, I don't think there's anyone doing like in my mind, and then turns out, there's I'm not exactly his age. I'm not sure his age, but we have a. He's like running laps around everyone in this space, anyways, in the
Hmm.
3D
Hmm.
printed beekeeping world.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Yeah.
in other
Well,
spaces too, I shouldn't say, but in like specific, like we can like I can hands down say that I don't know anybody else doing 3D beekeeping innovations other than Bill Raymond
hmm. Hmm.
here, like
Hmm.
locally.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't know of anybody else who is doing that. And yeah, and Bill is, I don't know. I'm just gonna take a wild guess, but I'm guessing he's in his mid 70s to 80 or somewhere like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
he's been around the block, or
Mm-hmm.
if I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how the saying goes, but
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
uh
We had him
well,
on. We interviewed him,
yes,
so
that's right.
people could go back and look up the episode with Bill Raymond, and he talked extensively about his 3D modeling work and also his beekeeping because he's a pretty fine beekeeper as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I spoke with him and I asked him about the lighting situation, and he said bees are often kept in the city with street lights and street lamps, and that is no issue at all. So it shouldn't bother them that much because they can fly at night and they will fly at night if they want to. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be positioned in a like it it will be more the top and the side. Their entrance will see more of a glow than it won't be a direct beam on their
Mm-hmm.
entrance. Maybe something
I
I'll
think I
cover
would
their.
still go with I would still go with the red light just to be sure that you're not distracting them because, the street light, I think he's right. I haven't seen honeybees around street lights, although I haven't looked for them here in the city. I have when I used to drive big truckloads of bees between, say, Florida and Wisconsin, or Florida and West Virginia, or Florida and Canada. I used to pull in at night to fuel up with gasoline, and there would always be a few, like a dozen or two bees that would escape somehow out of all the screening and netting and everything. Maybe they were on the outside of the netting from the time I left on my way north. But anyway, in warm weather, moving them, I stop at night and they will always go up to the lights that are there. I think because they're lost and because they don't know where else to go and they see the light, so they are attracted to light at night. And one more thing, you might have heard of the zombie parasite that will eat into a bee and get into its brain and make it fly towards light. And then the poor honeybee will just go at night and be stuck flying in loops around a light bulb. And that's from a zombie parasite. Like the bee becomes the zombie. The parasite is the instigator of this behavior. It's
Wow,
like zombie
that's
because the bee is basically dead. Not dead, dead, but it will never be alive in a normal way again because of the parasite. And then it's a zombie because it's being forced to do something against its will. So
mm.
if bees have a will, I don't know that we can say
Well,
anybody actually has free will, but anyway, that is what happens.
yeah, but I think the next one I'll definitely do a hexagon because
Hmm.
look what happened. So I the laser cutter technician, I asked him, I'm like, hey, I'm not exactly sure if the links are I they have to be the same, they have to be a friction fit, but it's not a friction fit.
Right.
It's very
Too
loose.
loose. It's too loose.
It's extremely loose. So I'm actually gonna buy my own laser cutter and start
Hmm.
prototyping at home.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
That'd be fun. Laser cutters must be expensive.
About $500.
Okay, I call that expensive, but if you're going to make good use out of it and sell these things, they're pretty artistic. And for those who are just listening and not watching, what Bidzina has is a very nice overlaid, and overlaid again design. In this case of pentagons, but they will be hexagons when he
Yeah.
makes his final model.
And
And those
every
things are going to be linked together, stuck together into a cover, a box that will go around a beehive.
you know, if you actually give me 30 seconds, I can show an actually a smaller version that I've built.
Okay, we have 30
Oh,
seconds.
okay, I'll
We'll
be right back.
go for it. You're being timed, you know that. So the
All
30
right, sorry.
seconds is going to go by really quickly, much more quickly than you would like. I'm sure of that. Okay, we're already 10 seconds into our 30 seconds. Um, I did want to mention while Bidzina is getting his prototype hexagon design that he's going to put over the beehives, that Apimondia is coming up the end of September. I think anybody who hasn't yet decided, you ought to go. I mean, check out Europe if you haven't been there before. It might be a great place to move to at some point in your life. But Apimondia is coming up. We're going to have I'm only a speaker, and they are going to have a lot planned and a lot to see. A lot of maybe even Bidzina will be there with his new prototyped hive covers by then. It's September. You have a few months to pull
Well,
that together.
I will be demoing, not there, but in another event, a symposium, a rodeo symposium, Calgary style.
Okay, tell me more.
So it's there's this a club out of Waterloo, the University of Waterloo, or it's not a club, it's an organization, Socratica. I think they're trying to play on Socrates, but I could be
Hmm.
wrong. But Socratica has a node here in Calgary called Ascend, and I'm a part of that node. And Ascend, it will be doing a symposium September 6th here in Calgary. You're more than welcome to join, Ron, where there's going to be a theater rented out in Kensington, the retro theater there, and that's where the event will be held. And it'll be a
What
demo of
date?
September 6th.
Oh, okay. I should be
Yeah.
around. Wow,
But
that sounds good. This Socratic organization, then, um, let me ask you, then, how did you become involved in it?
it happened through a mutual connection that I met at a case competition
A
that
case
I did.
competition? What's a case competition?
It's pretty much it's like a fun event. Well, I find it pretty fun, but it's run by companies and legit, like in this case it was Birchcliff Capital, or sorry, Birchcliff. They're an oil Birchcliff Energy. They're an oil company here in Calgary. They're listed on the stock market, if BIR, if anybody wants to look at their ticker. Anyways, those are details, but uh,
No, I
they
need to ask more questions. Now, you said you found that fun. In what way was it fun?
well, you're given 2 days to solve a problem and then pitch
Why
it.
only 2 days? Why not 3 days?
It's the nature of the case competition, but some of them are 3 days.
Is that
This
a
one was
natural way for a case competition to be held? Two
yes.
days?
They give you the problem.
If you
Uh,
haven't caught on, I'm asking you Socratic questions here.
uh, I don't know. I thought we'd maybe some audience. I'm sure you know what a case competition is.
Do I?
I don't know. You probably do.
Probably not, but this is
Well,
all
anyways,
fine.
they, they,
So,
they give you a
yes.
problem to solve, and then I had a team member that I solved it with. We got second place, and then fast
Oh,
forward,
good for you.
yeah, 6 months later, this team member he's posting about going to these events, and I asked if I could tag along, and then since then I've been tagging along. Well, not tagging,
All right.
like I've been actively going. This was February when it happened.
Are you a member of this secret society?
I would say I'm a frequent member. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's there. They don't have a official membership there yet, but you do have to get approved to get join
Okay.
their events.
Do they have any secret rituals that you can tell us about that are totally secret?
Well, they it's not, I guess, not very secret, but they are very about, like, in all their pictures they want us to use the ascend symbol,
Ascend symbol. An
the
A.
A. Yeah, in
The
all the
letter
pictures.
A,
This, yeah,
made out of fingers.
made out of fingers. Could do it
Yeah?
like this or like this. It's a gang signs
Okay.
kind of.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So I was trying to ask you a series of Socratic questions, but that didn't go as well as I had hoped.
No.
So the date again, September 6th this year,
Yep.
2025, and you will be there to demonstrate.
This.
Oh, now he's holding up something that is complete, unless it's an optical illusion, which it could be. He's
No.
holding up a really nice looking three-dimensional triangles on different sides, but when you hold it just right, hold it just right, hold it just so. Nope, got to turn it a little bit more. I'm trying to get you to make a hexagon there. There you go. There
It's
you go. You got
still
it
a
now.
pentagon. It's still a, this one's also
Yeah,
a
I
pentagon.
know, I know, I know. I just
It's like,
hoping. I was just, people who aren't watching this
it's
don't know that.
eventually we will get there. I don't know why, but
Okay.
the files, like I'm not designing these files. I'm sourcing them online right now. And the only the hexagonal ones just had issues. So I just didn't deal with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
this is a mini version of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Imagine
There,
this is the panel, each panel. Oh my God.
right. It'd be that
And
big. It'll be huge.
yeah,
It'll be standing up. It will be probably about
about
maybe
the
2 meters tall,
50 to 60, about just under a
just under two
meter.
meters.
Yeah, just yeah, a meter 50.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, meter
Mm-hmm.
60.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. It's nice to have a project like that. Very unusual, which I wouldn't expect anything less from you. Very odd, very unusual, off the wall, unexpected. That's great. That's
You
great.
know,
Keep it up.
I wanna, I wanna re rethink beekeeping because we talked a lot about Langstroth, and I think the conclusion that we came to is it became so popular because it was a commercially readily affordable, easy design that above all that worked very well. You can
Hmm.
easily make it. You could pretty much take four pieces of wood, same size,
Hmm.
slap it together, and you have a bee box.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right. So that
Yep.
came out of necessity. And I don't think we're in the same period anymore. I any beekeeper I know has tons of bee boxes they don't know what to do with. Like we need to kind of
Hmm.
rethink, just have a couple of beehives and really treat them like they're royalty. And what does a royalty
Yeah,
deserve?
great point.
A
Hmm.
mansion.
Hmm.
We
You have a
have to
great
like,
point. Why
yeah,
don't we leave it at that? That's a good
yeah,
place to stop. Beekeepers have too much junk.
we do. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
making more now. Oh no, not really. I'm trying to minimize it.
Hmm. Hmm. You're doing artwork, and
Yeah,
that's
exactly. I
very
want to make,
laudable. Hmm.
yeah, beekeeping into art. Exactly. Geometry into
Great.
habitat. But
Hmm.
yeah, let's end it off there.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for listening in once again. Do you want to say goodbye? Do you want to take it home?
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. I actually have three episodes this will be the third episode that we're going to be recording now that I have to upload. I
What's
know.
wrong? What's keeping you
Uh,
from uploading?
it's really been unexpected events. And I don't want to keep going,
Hmm.
but there's actually another swarm that now I'm dealing with that's inside of a tractor that I don't know if you saw my email about that, but
I did, and
yeah,
it sounds like it's in a very awkward location. Maybe next time we get together, we'll talk
yeah,
about
well,
that and
yeah,
what
well,
the outcome will be.
I haven't seen the outcome yet. I've set a trap for them, but exactly that kind
Hmm.
of came out of nowhere, and then at the same time, I popped my tire, and then it was like completely ruined. I couldn't repair it. I had to kind of scramble to get it figured out. But
Hmm. Hmm.
as that was kind of happening, like just um, there's 150 bee colonies that I'm managing right now, or I'm helping
Oh.
manage.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and about 20 of my own. And
Hmm.
then sometimes the two that you have, Ron. Yeah. But so it just got a little bit out of hand.
You're busy.
But
you're busy guy, very busy guy.
Well, no,
you know, you're so busy that we shouldn't drag this out any longer. We're trying to say goodbye. And
let's say goodbye. But yeah, it's just
time.
the bees kind of have, like, I've been kind of priority because it just, now we got all this rain. And like I said at the beginning, all this rainy day events, rainy day tasks are just going to get crossed off.
Good for you. That's important. Well, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
It's been great.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening. Bye.
Bye. See you next week.